Have you ever had one of those days, or maybe one of those weeks, where you feel like you're just spinning your wheels? You're working so hard, but you don't feel like you're actually getting any smarter or better at what you do. Well, what if I told you that the world's most successful people have a secret? They don't just work more, they have a system for learning, a way to get better faster. And today, we're going to break that system down.
So, let's start with a really honest question. Think about your last week. Were you genuinely productive, or were you just busy? You know that feeling, right? Your calendar is jammed, your inbox is a disaster, you're bouncing between a million tasks, and at the end of the day, you kind of wonder, what did I actually get done?
Well, author Cal Newport actually put a name to this whole struggle. He calls it the difference between shallow work and deep work. Shallow work? That's the busyness. It's all those low-value logistical things we do while we're distracted. But deep work? That's the opposite. That's when you're in the zone, totally focused, no distractions, and you're really pushing yourself to create something valuable and, actually improve your skills.
And that right there, that's the secret engine. It's what drives the people we all look up to, from Bill Gates and Barack Obama to Warren Buffett. They're not just putting in more hours than everyone else. They have a structured, deliberate system for learning. It's the thing that separates them from being merely busy and lets them just compound their knowledge year after year.
So let's go ahead and just dismantle this myth of busyness, because the number one habit of top performers isn't about doing more things, it's about learning more.
And it all starts with this number, 5 hours a week. It almost seems too simple, doesn't it? This isn't about some crazy 80-hour work week. It's just about a consistent, dedicated commitment to getting better.
This is what's called the 5-hour rule. It's a concept Michael Simmons came up with after studying some of the world's biggest leaders. And the idea is super simple. Set aside 1 hour every single weekday for deliberate learning and practice. And this isn't just some nice theory. It's a real pattern you see in the lives of innovators from Benjamin Franklin all the way to Oprah Winfrey.
The rule itself really breaks down into 3 core activities. First, you read. You're actively taking in new information, new ideas. Second, you reflect. You actually pause, you think about what you've learned, connect the dots, maybe journal about it. And third, you experiment. You take these new ideas and you actually try them out in the real world.
And on that first bucket, Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's famous business partner, couldn't have put it more bluntly. He said, "In my whole life, I have known no wise people who didn't read all the time. None. Zero. I mean, reading is literally the fuel for this entire system."
Okay, so committing to the time, that's step 1 of the 5-hour rule. But what you do inside that hour, well, that's what makes all the difference. That's what separates just going through the motions from real transformative growth.
Because here's the thing, the quality of that hour is everything. I mean, all your efforts to learn are going to completely fall apart if your mind is being pulled in a million different directions. This means you have to create a sanctuary for your focus. Turn off the notifications, close all those extra tabs, and let people know you can't be disturbed.
The great news is, there's not just one way to schedule this focus time. Cal Newport actually lays out 4 different philosophies, so you can find one that fits your life. The monastic approach, well, that's for people who can basically eliminate all distractions. The bimodal approach splits your time, so maybe you dedicate a few full days a week to deep focus. The rhythmic approach is probably what works for most of us. It's about building that consistent daily habit. And then there's the journalistic, which is for people who can just jump into deep work whenever they find a spare moment.
And here's a super critical insight that our always-on culture gets totally wrong. Your capacity for intense focus is not endless. It's finite. Research suggests that the daily upper limit is really only around 4 hours. So downtime isn't being lazy, it's an absolutely essential part of the process. Resting your brain is what lets you show up sharp and focused the next day.
Protecting your time for deep work, that's the foundation. So now, let's build on top of that. Let's explore a few really powerful techniques to get the absolute most out of every single minute.
Okay, this one is one of my absolute favorites, the Feynman technique, named after the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman. It's just a brilliant way to see if you truly understand something. You pick a concept, and then you try to explain it in the simplest terms you can, like you're teaching it to a kid. This process immediately shows you where the gaps in your own knowledge are, forcing you to go back, learn more, and then simplify your explanation until it's perfectly clear.
Another scientifically backed method is something called active recall. Now, this is the total opposite of just passively rereading your notes or highlighting a textbook. It's the process of actively trying to pull information from your brain without looking at the source. That act of pulling information out, instead of just shoving it in, is what builds those strong long-term memories.
Think of it as the difference between looking at the answer key and actually solving the problem yourself. And of course, how you capture information matters too. Tools like these note-taking methods are actually designed for active learning. The Cornell method, for instance, splits your page into notes, cues, and a summary, which is just perfect for quizzing yourself later. The mapping method is awesome for visual learners because you can see how ideas connect. The real key here is to find a system that forces you to engage with the material, not just write it down.
So as you can see, these aren't just a bunch of random tips. They are proven techniques for getting to true learning and real understanding, not just that surface-level memorization stuff.
And when you pull all of these threads together, you get this really elegant and powerful success system. You commit to the time with the 5-hour rule, you protect that time by creating an environment for deep work, and then you maximize that time using really effective learning techniques like active recall and the Feynman method.
And the best part is you don't have to wait to get started. Here are a few super simple, actionable things you can do today. Choose one of those deep work philosophies that seems like it could fit your life, open your calendar right now, and actually schedule your first hour. Pick one book or one skill you're genuinely excited to learn.
Because you got to remember, this isn't about some quick fix or productivity hack. It's about building a sustainable habit, a personal system for success that just builds on itself over time.
So, I'll just leave you with this thought. 1 hour a day might not feel like a lot, but that's 5 hours a week. And over a year, that's 260 hours of pure, focused, deep learning. So the real question is, what skill could you master? What business could you build? What could you create with that time? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.